With this, friends, I'm going to shift over right now to the prayer meditation, spending a few minutes on our study of meditation and Jewish prayer. Remember, the purpose of this course is to be able to read, to understand, and to meditate upon the Hebrew words of our prayers, to make prayer spiritual again. That's the purpose of this course, and you can find all the previous classes of this course at jewishgardens.com/spiritual. What we've done is we've built a lexicon of 32 Hebrew words that we've incorporated into our Hebrew word diary, so that we write the Hebrew word on the front side of an index card, the English word on the back side of the index card, and we go through those index cards 5 or 10 or 20 times a day. Just, it doesn't take a long time. It takes maybe 3 or 4 minutes each time. And when you do that, you burn the meaning of those words into your brain, so that when you see those words, you will know exactly what they are, and you'll recognize them. They will not be foreign to you. Now, we're going through the Shema. We're well on our way through the Shema. If you have a prayer book, we're on page 42 of the prayer book. And if you don't have a prayer book, you can find a prayer book online right now. Go to HebrewBooks.org/16091. That's where you can find the prayer book. By the way, I highly encourage you to buy a prayer book, because as we open our shul again, you're going to have to get BYOB. You're going to have to bring your own book. You will not be allowed, for health reasons, to use a communal prayer book. You're going to have to own your own prayer book. So BYOB, it's a very good idea to have your own prayer book, and that way you can mitigate the spread of any virus, God forbid. So these are part of the safety protocols that will be unfolding in the next few days, God willing, as soon as our medical advisors give us final sign-off. So I highly advise you to call the shul office at 561-624-2223. That's 624-2223. Call Ashley and ask her to purchase a prayer book, because we're going to need that. You'll probably want to buy a Chumash as well, a Bible, which is a very good idea to own anyways. You're supposed to have holy books in your home anyways. So if you open the book right now, your prayer book, we are now on page 42 of the prayer book, which is the Shema. It is the most important part of the Jewish prayers. And in the Shema, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're 7 lines from the bottom. And we're on the last word of the line, 7 lines from the bottom, on the last word of the line. The word is uveshach becha. The sentence says, you shall teach them thoroughly to your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk on the road, when you lie down, and when you rise. Today we're going to cover just that last phrase, when you lie down and when you rise. The word we're looking at today is uveshach becha. Uveshach becha, which means and when you lie down. Key here is that when you have a letter Vav at the beginning of a word, the letter Vav at the beginning of the word, this letter, we spoke about this many times, this letter at the beginning of the word typically means and. It's a preposition which means and. Whenever you see a Vav at the beginning of a word, you should add this to your Hebrew word diary. This means and. But the root word, remember, the way it works in Hebrew is that the words are built in very logical structures. You have a root, and the root appears in many, many, many different kinds of contexts, always meaning the same essence, right? Today's root word is shachav. Shachav, right? This is the root. It's interesting. It's 3 letters which have sister letters. The shin on top. If the dot is on the right, it's a SH. If the dot is on the left, it's a plain S. The code is she is always right. Your wife is always right. And if it's on the left, if it's not like your wife says, then it's a sin, right? That's the code. This is a letter with a sister letter, shin and sin, SH or S, okay? This is another sister letter. If it's got a cough drop, it's a K. If it has no cough drop, then it's horse. It's a Ch, right? Kaf, chaf. That's the second letter. And the third letter, another sister letter, is the bet. If it has a button, it's a bet. If it doesn't have a button, then it's vacant, and it's a vet, right? Collectively, these three letters spell shachav. Shachav, it would be the first letter of the shin. The shin is always right. Then the chaf without the dot is horse's ch, and the vet without the button is vacant. So shachav. That is the root word number 33 in our Hebrew word diary. And the meaning of this word is to sleep or lie down. Hence, because the word means to sleep or lie down, it also means having marital relations. Because typically, marital relations happen while you sleep, just like in English. Sleeping with someone means having, marital relations. So therefore, when you see this word, shachav, it could mean either sleeping or laying down or marital relations. It could also mean dying, because dying also happens in that position of being horizontal. It all expresses the horizontal state of being. Sleeping, lying down, dead, or marital relations. So for example, when the Torah says, "Ve'et zachar lo tishkav mishkavei isha," you shall not lie with a male like you lie with a female. That is from Leviticus 18, verse 22. The Torah says, I'm translating literally, and with a male you shall not lie down the way you lie down with a woman. That is the Torah prohibition against male homosexual relations. The verb used is lying down. That's the verb, lying down, because it's actually a euphemism, really. There actually is no word in Hebrew for sex. The Torah word for sex is lying down. It's obviously a euphemism because the Torah is the holy tongue and it doesn't want to speak in an immodest way. So it speaks about lying down. So it's interesting to see that when you look at this word, you realize that it means lying down. That's the meaning of the word. The Torah continues in Deuteronomy, cursed is the one who lies down with the wife of his father. Right? That's cursed is the one who lies down with the wife of his father. Lying down obviously means sexual relations. Okay, so there we see that the word for sexual relations is lying down, because shachav, this word, means to lie down. Here it is again. This word means to lie down, and therefore it also euphemistically means marital relations. Now, another thing about this word is the layers of an onion. Layers of an onion is shchavot shel batzal. Shchavot is layers. Why would layers be the same word shchavot? Shachav, because lying down. They're like lying down one on top of each other. Whenever you have layers, you're talking about shchavot. We went to Caesarea. Beautiful excavations of Caesarea, where Hadrian, the Roman emperor, built a beautiful port to rival those of Rome, and it's beautiful. You see, there's a certain area over there where they show you a cliffside, and you see about 8 or 12 different civilizations in the. You can actually see it's a profile of the cliff, and you see the various pottery or the density of the earth. You see it's very, very different in 12 or a few different layers, and those are called shchavot. They're layers because they're packed tightly. They're lying one on top of each other. It's always the same word, which means lying down. Now, there's another prayer. If you open your prayer book, there's a very interesting word here. Here, on page 122. If you go to page 122 in the prayer book, you'll see a prayer called Hashkiveinu Avinu L'Shalom. We say this in the evening prayer. The evening prayer, which obviously is a time of sleeping at nighttime. And we say just before the silent Amidah. The prayer goes, Hashkivenu Avinu Leshalom. Our Father, let us lie down in peace. We make a prayer that we should be able to sleep well, basically. That's the prayer. We should be able to sleep well. And Hashkivenu is, once again, the same thing. God, allow our sleep to be blessed in a way that we can wake up from the sleep, that we don't actually sleep to our death, but that we wake up and may it all be peaceful, right? So that's once again the same word, Hashkivenu. The root is Shachav, Shin, Chavav. This course is not about Hebrew grammar. It's not about tenses and forms. And, in English, there's past, present, and future. But in Hebrew, there's actually 7 different tenses. 7 different tenses. So this is not a grammar course. This is just a basic crash course in Hebrew. And those when you get the root, Shin, Chavav, which means to lie down, to die, or to sleep, or to have marital relations, you realize that the word Ashkevenu at the bottom of page 122, the first word of the last paragraph, means to lie down. And we see the same word on page 147. 147 is the prayer you say before going to sleep at night. There's actually a prayer that you say, the very last words that you say before you go to sleep, before you fall asleep, is on page 147. This actual service starts on page 141. 141 is where the prayer before retiring at night begins. And you're supposed to say this every night before you go to sleep. It's a very beautiful meditative prayer, which, by the way, also in the middle of page 141 says that prayer of Hashkivenu, same exact prayer as on page 122. You say that prayer about going to sleep in a peaceful way, but we also make peace with anybody that angered us, and in this lifetime and a previous lifetime. But when you go through this prayer, it's a very beautiful reflection of your deeds in the past days. This prayer, by the way, is a lot like the confession before you die. Sleep is 1/60th of death according to Torah. And therefore, just like you're supposed to have a confession and reconciliation with God before you die, so too you're supposed to do a reconciliation with God before you go to sleep. And that's on page 141, what you do here. But if you go to the very last part of that section of 147, you make a prayer. Blessed are you, Lord, our God, King of the universe, who causes the bonds of sleep to fall upon my eyes and slumber upon my eyelids, and who gives light to the apple of the eye. May it be your will, Lord, my God and God of my fathers, to let me lie down in peace. That word lie down is also shetashki veini. Same root, shin chaf vav, which means to shin chaf vet. Shin chaf vet, which means to lie down. That you ask God to let me lie down in peace and to raise me up to a good life in peace. Let my thoughts not trouble me, nor bad dreams, nor sinful fancies. May my bed be perfect before you give light to my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Blessed are you, Lord, who in his glory gives light to the whole world. And with that, you're not allowed to talk anymore. Until you wake up in the morning, you're not allowed to talk in the morning. Thank God for this prayer, because this helps us get our kids to bed at night, because otherwise they're going to won't stop chattering until God knows when. So when you make them say the Hamapo prayer, then they know they're not allowed to talk anymore. It's a beautiful thing. Thank God. So that is the meaning of the prayer of going to sleep. But there is another manifestation of this prayer where King David, before he dies, Jacob, before he dies, they say, V'shachavti im avotai, and I will lay with my ancestors. Lay with my ancestors. This is talking about dying. I will lay down with my ancestors. Which is actually a very beautiful meditation. Because when you lay down with your ancestors, in American culture and secular culture, we think of death as the end of the road, where the person is done, kaput, finito, it's all over. But in the Hebrew language, in the Holy Tongue, death is merely lying down, just like when a person lies down to sleep. It's their body that's resting. But their soul is still alive. They're just in a state of unconsciousness within the body. But their soul is certainly alive somewhere else. And you're going to find that out because they're going to wake up eventually. So too with death. That death is only a temporary state of unconsciousness. I will lie down, I will sleep with my forefathers. Death is only a temporary state of unconsciousness, which will certainly be followed by a state of consciousness of resurrection. The person is still very, very much alive, just not in exactly the same form as they were alive until now. And that's the meditation of this word, Shachav, Shin Chavet. That death is merely a state of being horizontal. It's a state of slumber, as opposed to our regular state of being, which is vertical. Don't stress over death. It just means that this is temporary. It's a temporary state of being horizontal. It's like sleeping. Don't stress out. Just like sleep, a person always wakes up. So too from death, a person will wake up. And that's a very powerful and encouraging meditation. As we think about Stefani Stollerman's father today, Stefani Marmer's father, Herbert Stollerman, whose Yahrtzeit we're celebrating today, whose soul is being elevated in Gan Eden. How can you elevate the soul of somebody who's dead? He's dead. It's all over. No, the answer is no. He's sleeping. The body is resting. It's a long sleep. Just like a person, when they sleep, they'll wake up eventually. So too, Herbert Stollerman is going to wake up with the coming of Mashiach. And right now, his soul is being elevated and actively being engaged with us as we study Torah in his memory today. Okay, let's do one final word today for our study, and that is uvekumecha. Back to page 142. Back to page 42. I believe it's also on page 142. You'll find the Shema also on page 142. But for consistency's sake, we're on page 42 right now. We're now at the very first word of the line, 6 lines from the bottom. Uvekumecha, and when you rise up. So you shall teach them thoroughly to your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk on the road, when you lie down, and when you rise. That is the biblical commandment to say the Shema twice daily. Every morning and every night you have to say the Shema. This is the biblical commandment, to say these words when you rise up in the morning and when you go to sleep at night. We're learning in the Judaism at Home course that you have to say the Shema before the end of the time of the Shema, which is the end of 3 hours of the day. It's about 10 o'clock these days, 10 a.m. Best practice is to say the morning blessings when you wake up, and right after the morning blessings to say the Shema, the first 3 paragraphs. At the very least, to say the first paragraph of the Shema, and at the very, very least, just to say the words Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. That way you fulfill the biblical commandment every morning and every night. But the last word in the sentence is Uvekumecha, and when you rise up. The roots of this word, well, we know, first of all, the Vav at the beginning of the word. We know by now, we've learned this many times, the Vav at the beginning of the word means and. And again, if you've missed or if you want to review, and I highly encourage you to review these classes so you can build up your Hebrew word diary, is at jewishgardens.com/spiritual. That's jewishgardens.com/spiritual. This is how you can really make your prayer more spiritual, as you learn to read Hebrew, understand the Hebrew, and meditate in Hebrew. All of the classes of prayer and meditation are at that link, jewishgardens.com/spiritual. Guys, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment. I see Kobe just posted Kiyum Yachasim. Interesting. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, Kobe. Stay tuned. So the root of this word of Kobe, you're going to have to help me over here because I would love your input. So the root of this word now, uvekumecha, and when you rise up, is here. It's kuf vav mem. Kuf vav mem. Just gonna find that letter again. Sorry, here it is. Kuf vav mem. So remember, we have the vav at the beginning of the word. That's not part of the root. But the root starts at the kuf. The kuf is a letter that goes all the way down. It looks like an elderly person. It's curved and carrying a cane. It looks like an old man. The line goes beneath the line. Right? It's a long letter. Looks like an old man that's like kind of stooping with a cane. Right? So it's an elderly person curved and carrying a cane. That's the letter kuf. The second letter of the root is the vav. Right? The vav, which is very straight and very thin. And the final letter of the root is the mem. The mem is the letter that looks like a mountain. It's got a base and it's got a flag and it's got a peak. Looks just like a mountain. The mem. So kuf vav mem spells the root of this word. However, the letter mem at the end of the word changes form. Just like in English, you have capital letters at the beginning of a sentence. In Hebrew, you have no capital letters. No letters change form at the beginning of a sentence. But there are 5 letters that change form when they are at the end of a word. One of those 5 letters that changes form at the end of the word is the mem, which changes from that form to this form, right? It becomes a mem. So this is the kuf vav mem, the final mem, right? This is the root, kuf vav mem. Now, when you have this word, uvikumecha, the meaning of this word is the opposite of shachav, to lie down, to sleep. The meaning of this word is to rise up, to wake up, to rise up and to wake up. So the meaning of the word in the verse of the Shema is that the meaning of this word is that you should say the Shema when you go to sleep and when you wake up. But because the word means wake up, it has other manifestations as well. To rise up and rebel, or to rise up and establish something. Like, for example, when you establish a synagogue, when you establish a business, it's called lehakim esek, to establish a business. Lehakim, the vav kind of, it's a bit of a silent letter. So the main letters here really are the kuf and the mem, right? That's really the root of it. Lehakim means to pick up a business, to establish a business. Or Hakim Bet Chabad means to pick up or to lift up a Chabad house, right? When you have an uprising, a rebellion, right? We say in the Haggadah, He Sheyameda, and this which let's take a look at this. Actually, I'm going to ask you to turn in your prayer book to the section of the Haggadah. Let's go to the back of the prayer book where we'll find this verse in the Haggadah. Once again, if you don't have a prayer book, I highly encourage you to buy one. You can buy one from the office, 561-624-2223. And you'll need a prayer book because coming back to show, everyone's going to have their own BYOB. Bring your own book, your own prayer book, and your own chumash, because we can't share prayer books. It's a problem with carrying the virus. So if you go to page 400, at the back of your prayer book, if you don't have a prayer book, I did post the link to the prayer book online earlier on Facebook and on YouTube. But the link is on page 400, go to the 4th paragraph, and let's read this together in English. This is what has stood by our fathers and for us. For not just one alone has risen against us to destroy us, but in every generation they rise against us to destroy us. And the Holy One, blessed be He, saves us from their hand. Okay, well actually I'm kind of wrong over here, because what the verse says is, in every generation they rise to destroy us. Omdim, they stand up to destroy us. It can also be kamim aleinu. In every generation, they kamim aleinu, they rise up to us, to establish, to rise up over us. So I was actually wrong. This is not actually the exact same word, but it could be. It's another form of that word. Another word of saying that is, another way to say this word is to, by the way, the word attack also. When you attack someone, right? As in the Talmudic dictum that says, Hakam lehargecha, hashkem lehorgo. If somebody rises up to attack you, then it's a mitzvah for you to attack them first. Right? If you have a situation where somebody's trying to hurt you, you shouldn't ask for a dialogue and have a chat with them and have a cup of coffee and extend to them an olive branch. If they're trying to attack you, shoot them first, ask questions later. Hakam lehargecha, hashkem lehorgo. Someone who rises up to attack you, you should hasten to attack them, to kill him first. The word is kam, because it's all part of that same theme of rising up, of waking up, of establishing something new, of building something new, of rebelling, to rising up and rebel, to up, an uprising. The word uprising is to rise up, right? Uprising, which is attack or rebel, and also the word to attack, right? So another nice way to see this is that when we talk about the resurrection of the dead, we said shach becha is v'shachavti im avotai, and I will sleep with my forefathers, is a reference to death. But how do you say the resurrection of the dead? Hakam letchiyah, to rise up for resurrection. To rise up for resurrection. Resurrection is a fundamental principle in our faith. core in our faith is to believe that the dead will rise up again, and that's called to kam netchiyah, to rise up for resurrection. So that's all part of the same word, which is the root of kam, kuf and mem, kuf vav and mem, which is lakum, to rise up, to rise up and to rebel. I wonder if the word for kettle in Hebrew, this I don't know, but maybe if the word for kettle in Hebrew is the same word for the following reason. You say kettle in Hebrew, kum. This word twice. Kum. That's how you say kettle. Kum. Could it be that a kettle is called a kum because you typically hear the sound of the kettle when you're waking up in the morning? Could it be? I mean, it's a more of a modern Israeli word. A kettle is a modern Israeli word. It's not an ancient biblical word. But could it be that the reason why the kettle is called a kum, because typically when someone's, when you hear the sound of the kettle, your wife or your husband is calling out to you, kum, yalla, kum, wake up already. While you hear in the background the sound of the kettle. You know, when you pour a bottle, the name for bottle is Hebrew. In modern Hebrew, it's called a bakbuk. Bakbuk in Hebrew, when you pour a bottle, it makes a sound of bakbuk. The sound of the bottle when it pours makes a sound called bakbuk. So I wonder, bakbuk is the name of a bottle, right? It's a modern word because of the sound that it makes. I wonder if the kettle is called a kum because when you wake up in the morning, that's the sound that you hear. Wake up. Elaine, when you say also resurrection, that's exactly what I just said. I said that resurrection is the word hakam netchiyah, to rise up for resurrection. Okay, comments coming in over here from Rob Berger and your own Tehillim. Yes, absolutely. You should buy your own Tehillim too. Here, this one. This is a book of Tehillim, book of Psalms of King David. Even without the coronavirus, it's very, very much a good idea to buy your own Tehillim, your own Chumash, and your own Siddur. Our safety protocols are going to be coming out very soon, God willing, about how we can open up our shul. Or maybe because the steam rises up. That's Terry's why. Yep, could very much be because the steam rises up. I like the idea of kum being wake up, the sound that you hear when you're being risen, stirred from your sleep. Okay, with that, folks, I'm going to end it up over here. If you missed the class last night, I gave a class on the authenticity of the oral Torah. It was called The Convert and the Creed. The authenticity of the oral Torah. We'll be posting that to our YouTube page sometime today, I believe. It was taught last night on the JLI forum, global forum, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So with that, don't forget that tomorrow night we've got a very, very special event. We have our scholar in residence, very special guest, Manis Friedman, who is a noted scholar, brilliant man. He'll be talking about the power of now, the opportunity of the coronavirus, how the coronavirus can shape our mindfulness, to be able to see, to emerge into a whole new world and a whole new way of living and of seeing our lives. It's going to be taking place tomorrow night on Zoom at 8 o'clock. Please do join us. That event is sponsored by Mark and Edie Berenson in loving memory of Edie's father. And today at 11:30, Corey is giving a class. Corey Nadell is giving a class on Tehillim, on Hebrew reading and Psalms of King David. That's on Zoom, jewishgardens.com/Zoom at 11:30 today. And that's pretty much it. So I want to thank today Miriam Lindner on the occasion of her birthday. L'chaim to you, Miriam, Mazel Tov, for dedicating today's Torah study in honor of your birthday. You should have a shnat hatzlacha b'kol mikol kol, a year of health and happiness in every way. Gesund and health, parnasa and livelihood, and nachas and nachas. And also to Stefani Jay Marmer, who've dedicated today's Torah study, day of learning, in memory of Stephanie's father, Herbert Stollerman, who was a man of learning, and therefore today's day of learning is dedicated in his honor. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us here today. Shalom. Have a great day. Can't wait to see you, and speak soon.